So to address an anterior fascial line tightening or stiffness, a few things that we can do. The cross ball is a really nice tool to have to be able to get into kind of like mash and break up the fascia, kind of, or at least friction the fascia to make it move, glide, and slide like it's supposed to, since realistically we're not breaking up the fascia, we're really just trying to make the tissues slide and glide better between each other. But the lacrosse ball is a really good option, especially as we get down into the lower leg. But for the upper leg, in terms of getting from the anterior fascial line from the hip to the knee, we use our foam roller. Basically, when you use the foam roller, all you're going to do is you're going to put the foam roller through the quad, and then you're going to just let it roll out from the knee all the way up into the hip, and then you're going to bend the knee at certain points. So you're trying to get this tightening of that fascia, and so you roll it, try and get through both the lateral quad and also rolling medially and trying to let that knee bend, and then you go up and down, you find a new spot, and then you let it bend. So you're trying to find a few spots that feel particularly stiff, and then you're rolling at the same time to find another spot. And then after that, I typically like to go about and stretch the quad, or stretch the tissue that we just worked on. So you can take a belt, is usually one of the easier ways. You can lie face down, put the belt around your foot, and then you're basically just working through your quad stretch. So you're gonna basically lay onto your stomach and then stretch out your quad in this particular way. And best case scenario too is if you're able to actually lift the knee up a little bit, as long as you still only feel it in your quad, but you're trying to go to that point where the knee is lifting up off the floor, so we can get our anterior line all the way up into the hip as well. Stretching is ideal if we're going for long duration stretching. So for something like this, we're talking at least a minute, probably closer to 2 minutes worth of stretching to allow for that tissue to fully deform. And then this is where we can use a foam roller or the cross ball, but the cross ball to get down to the lower fascial system through the anterior tibialis. And so I'm basically just taking that ball and I'm on the front part of my shin. If you feel your shin, there's this bone that is across to the inner portion, and then there's the calf. We're trying to go from the bone through this medial portion to the side, all the way around the kind of lateral portion of the lower leg. That's basically your anterior tibialis. And then you're rolling, and then again, when you find the spot, you're gonna point the foot up towards the ceiling, kind of like gas pedaling. You can find a few spots doing that. You can do the same thing with the foam roller, but the cross ball is one of the better options. And then the last thing to do is basically trying to stretch that fascial system through that lower leg, which you can do either in a prayer stretch, basically sitting yourself back and trying to get that ankle all the way flat. If that's comfortable and it's flat, then you can add a towel underneath to lift up that, make that even more accentuated. Or we can start working on the other portion, which would be getting our toes to be flexing. And so I usually do this sitting in a chair, but basically you're putting your toes and knuckling them underneath you to try and stretch that top portion of the foot. Or you can try to take your hand and stretch it down, which is also another really good option. But basically you're trying to get the two ideas throughout each of a, trying to make that fascia break up and move a little bit more with the ball and the foam roller through the quad. Then you stretch it at least a minute, upwards of 2 minutes. Stretch the, use the ball to the lower leg, and then do your stretch afterwards. So it's about a 5-6 minute routine to get that whole fascial system truly moving a bit better. You can do it a bit more abbreviated too, but it's really ideal to try and have it be a bit more lengthened so you get every bit of it. So give that a shot.